Boogie2988 is the most frustrating of all the lolcows. With every beneficial thing he does, there are 10 more that bring him down. Continuing where the previous video left off, he has shown to handle every situation he's been in poorly. Unlike his contemporaries, he's intelligent enough to understand his mistake and explain it back to his critics, but always lacks the will to apply what he learned from them, and has shown to repeat his mistakes ad nauseum, exemplified by what he's been doing in the last 4 years, such as constantly feeding the trolls.
I completely lost my mind for a while. I'm sane now, though.
Discharging his firearm in the air to deter a serial harasser, his continued poor dieting habits, becoming rich through cryptocurrency, flaunting his wealth, then losing it all, his near monthly epiphanies, purposely inciting controversy by exposing his love interests, whatever this is.
Check the microwave. And there was no Mountain Dew.
And most importantly, deflecting criticism via self-depreciation and not an understanding or willingness to change. He constantly asks for advice, but in not taking it, insults all those that wasted the time giving it. It is at the point that examining his story brings not just frustration to his actions, but a frustration in oneself to want to give up on a person entirely. His cycle of self-destruction, so infectious, it was made clear that you wanted a part 2, and here it is.
Slim Shady.
My name is Hi.
Just let me get a microphone for the first time.
To quickly recap who Boogie2988 was and how he got here, we'll have to understand what Boogie represented. As he claims, he was a person that was deeply down on their luck when born to 2 abusive parents that nurtured his unhealthy habits, such as overeating, and led to a very difficult life, even beyond their household. While he was very open about the difficulty he faced through his first 30 or so years of life, like isolating himself by delving into things relating to website operation. But when in public spaces, he seemed positive and knowledgeable, despite his history. That helped not just win over people, but also accept aspects about his eating disorder and his morbid obesity. To have a personality and a will to seek out the positive is inspiring, in that, though one can experience terrible horrors in life, through hard work, personality, or perspective can succeed. This was early Boogie2988 on YouTube. One of the first well-known creators used his unfavorable traits to benefit him, like his obesity to gain viewership. This was done by placing himself in scenarios that by his figure he could only create. That's why his most popular video is Dramatic Fat Guy Splash. But also, Boogie is funny. He used people's immediate perception of him to develop a character that he called Francis, that had a strong lisp and an addiction to eating snack foods and World of Warcraft.
Hi guys, it's me Francis. I'm just really upset. My Warcraft account has been hacked.
Better yet, he also did vlogs as more and more people were interested in him. A man that can turn a terrible eating disorder into stardom. After all, by the mid-2010s, he already appeared not only in a television show, but also in the pinnacle of advertising in the US. Boogie was in a Super Bowl commercial. Who Boogie was an extremely kind, introspective, intelligent, honest figure. His words held more weight because of what he continued to accomplish. Through YouTube, he was able to purchase a house. He got married. He had a dedicated following that had viewers feel that it could only get better. So for him to be the inverse now is a horribly painful counter to what he once represented. This may have started with a weight loss surgery that following it was a divorce. He fell into the 85% or so of people that get a divorce within 2 years of the surgery. These are normal happenings in life that cannot be helped. But with his ex-wife out of the picture, he claims he was out of his support structure, and as his anger built, it seeped into his public life and destroyed his brand, how people perceived him, his channel and character due to a series of outbursts both of rage and immaturity, like this moment where he picks on his teammate in Apex Legends.
Well, if your parents aren't together, then you probably come from a broken home. You're probably going to get real angry when you start losing, so...
Or this time, he recorded himself thrusting on a bed making fun of the idea he was paying for women.
One for me and one for Uncle.
After the divorce, he was paying to be in the company of women. But unlike typical prostitution, he found his woman typically on Seeking, a sugar daddy website where wealthy men will pamper women in exchange to be accompanied by them. Well, one of these women came out and detailed how Boogie would guilt her into staying over longer than she wanted, but was also vindictive in presenting her time with Boogie. This is only a slice of what was coming out. All of this could be found in an extremely lengthy Reddit post on Sam Tolkien, that linked clips of Boogie acting in ways that deeply contrasted his friendly or kind character. It should also be mentioned that this Reddit post was poorly made. As much of the subreddit did, it guided users to believe assumptions were facts, and accused Boogie of things there is little to no evidence of. Regardless, it did garner much attention, and sent hate in Boogie's direction. What's more is that even his standard commentary content where he discusses ongoing events was being criticized in that he was a fence-sitter, and that he typically remained neutral when discussing events, that though it appeared to not be at an angle of fairness, but at an angle of disinterest. Every time he opened his mouth in defense of himself, he only made things worse. And that's how perception of him changed, and his channel that was failing even before the divorce was falling further. What was once a creator that against all odds used his shortcomings to benefit him and spread a message of improvement has turned it into the exact opposite. In 2019, he was a person that even with accumulating wealth, status, and support, would only complain and only see the negatives of his life. He would constantly ask for advice on Twitter, yet he would never take it. He would additionally respond more to the negative comments than those of support. This brings us to where the previous video left off, and it only got worse. His strongest obsession by far is with Twitter. As of this line, Boogie has tweeted 105,600 times, not including the many deleted tweets, and don't be fooled by his account being established in 2009. Because even in just 2010, he only tweeted 9 times. In 2011, he tweeted about 105 times. From 2012 onward, his yearly tweet count averages to a little under 10k tweets. This averages to around 26 tweets a day. Accounting that he has to sleep, that's about a tweet every 35 minutes or so that Boogie is awake. Boogie, as it is called, is terminally online. By his own words, he spews verbal diarrhea. Creators, viewers, even trolls tell him not to. But he is persistent in sharing his raw thoughts that only serve to hold him accountable to the thousands of ideas and promises he releases, and continues to hammer down his deep lack of will and endless contradictions that always exist in unrefined thought. Many onlookers are likely uninformed of all the negative things Boogie is accused of or are brought in his direction, but he makes certain everyone knows by responding to it or sharing it. He feeds the trolls, and shamelessly so. Stepping into the timeline of late 2019, he was responding to an image of his weight gain after the weight loss surgery. His lowest weight post-surgery was 336 pounds. His original goal weight in 2018 was 270. Now, at the start of 2020, in January, he reveals he is 351 pounds. The reality of it is that no one truly cares how much Boogie weighs. It is constantly brought to his attention because he gives it so much attention. It shows his continued failings and prompts more negative responses that he continues to promote. It appears he still does not understand, through his incompetence, his words now carry no weight. This is a very dangerous thing as a content creator when you are disregarded because of the person you become. That's also a reason why his videos have fallen drastically in views. In January, in a video, he was giving general advice on becoming a content creator and says this:
You are your brand, not your YouTube channel, not your Instagram feed. You are that brand. You should always make videos about what you're passionate about. If you really like video games, if you really like Legos, whatever it is. And then the people who also are passionate about that thing will find your channel, and then you can share that love of that thing. That's probably the most important thing to remember. But there are 2 major types of content that you can produce. And the first of which is content for your existing audience, stuff that you know they want to see.
The most important bits of that were that you are your brand and make content your viewers want to see. Applying that to Boogie shows his inability to grasp his own words. Take his second channel for example, his travel channel where he rides roller coasters and the like. Yet it failed entirely because the videos were presented as just showing off the rides. Without Boogie or a unique twist, it fell into the niche of hundreds of videos just showcasing rides that have no unique quality or effort in them. Or back to his tweets. Do viewers want to see Boogie complain about his failings? Does he want to share these failings to depress his audience? It doesn't make sense. Keep in mind, this is only 3 days into 2020, and already he reveals he failed his New Year's resolution of sticking to positivity, yet ironically, within the many tweets of support in response to his failures, he was only responding to the negative ones. By January 11th, he was seeking out criticism. Besides again failing his New Year's resolution, he imparts the information that he is, quote, a chronic peacekeeper. Confrontation triggers some of my issues, and I seek to avoid it at all costs. Unquote. Now we have this perspective. And it only took him 10 days to ruin it, as well as paint himself as a liar and a manipulator. Pay attention to this specific tweet. Boogie claims two major things. One is that he was swatted twice in December of 2019, meaning that cops were called to his residence in some capacity. The other is he does not know who called them. As to why this is important is because this can be verified through blotters, which are essentially police records because, as it so happens, they record every call. And with Boogie already being doxxed, his address was out there. And because of his inconsistencies, which are more so becoming lies, people fact-check him more and more. So with his address and looking at the blotters, it turns out Boogie was swatted in 2019, except not in December as he claims. So now we affirm Boogie is a liar with the pure intent to lie. More importantly, Boogie was swatted in July during his time at VidCon, and not while he was at his home in Fayetteville. Yet exists this tweet where he says he took a picture of the officer and the officer told him not to do that. Forgetting that this was an impossibility, now fact-checking that original tweet reveals two lies. It's already true that he was swatted in July, just wasn't present. So why even lie about unnecessary details? Regardless, he was questioned as to why he lied, and responded with a third lie, saying that he was swatted in July as proved by the blotter. There was also another swatting before he left for VidCon, also in July, and for some really weird reason, the incompetent cops didn't put it into the blotter. He is now saying that those public records are incorrect. He was questioned about this more and more and couldn't help himself from pressing on with lies. That was lie number 4. Now here's lie number 5. In here, he was saying that now he supposedly cut a deal with the cops as they do not put welfare checks in the blotters since July to avoid harassment. Well now, how does one verify this? You reach out to the Fayetteville Police Department, which is how this image was produced, stating that, quote, "No records are ever purged from our system, and there has never been, nor will be, an quote-unquote understanding with police or dispatch to make calls from public record," unquote. This was coming out in late January and was well documented in a Reddit post on Salmon Tolkien by a user that did very well to document the claims and Boogie's own. The user not launching malicious claims, but very much letting the evidence speak for itself. Now, how will Boogie respond? Not only was he 6 lies into this failed deception, it was another stripping of his character. Is he really a chronic peacekeeper if he engages in tactics such as this for no benefit? As is his theme, in response to this Reddit post and his outing of lies about something as serious about being swatted, he typed a multi-tweet long thread on January 23, 2023. Instead of admitting he is incompetent and shallow, he went with a very different narrative. He starts by saying this was him growing a spine. He changed from peacekeeper to fighter in 12 days, and that he will be discussing what happened in a sponsored video as to flaunt how this revelation was actually positive. What follows this chain are likely more lies, as he says he was DMing a critic, something typical of Boogie, and feeding him false information with some truths. He accepts he is a liar and is cringe. As per the leaked screenshots, it is true he was feeding that person lies, but also claims that it was the Salmon Tolkien subreddit that swatted him, yet he previously said he did not know who did it. This is lie number 7. As this thread continues, he tries to make it seem like this was some grandmaster plan to have people from the subreddit fact-check his swattings and have them look up his home address without spreading it, which he somehow equates to doxing and will cause the subreddit that is shifted to be against them to be shut down. None of it makes sense. It was not doxing. And this thread also confirms Boogie to be a manipulator. He even says, quote, "This was of course horribly manipulative," unquote, and was done as a recommendation by a friend in PR. Boogie, as we will later find out, also has friends in the FBI and other professions that give him terrible advice. As the thread continues, he self-flagellates in repentance of outing himself as a liar and a manipulator, and makes sure people understand that after being targeted by them, this was the only exception he would make to engage in those tactics. But now, and going forward, onlookers will take into consideration that Boogie is a liar and a manipulator. In this thread, where Boogie revealed his grand strategy, users were displeased with Boogie's explanation. One saying, "You mean you made your own police department look corrupt to get Reddit? That's a new low, man." Another commenter says, "Publicly accusing your LEO department of illegally falsifying records to get revenge on Reddit isn't the 7th dimension backgammon you think it is. A good advisor would tell you to delete Twitter." It still doesn't end there. He also says the people obsessing over him give him anxiety, but also in the same chain, he says he finds it fun. It takes some true creativity to handle this any worse than Boogie was. This same day, January 23rd, after a new wave of criticism towards him, he removed his profile picture with the Twitter generic one and left only a dot for a description. A couple hours later, everything was back, and now he claimed he was hacked. The quote-unquote hacker got into his account through Mobcrush, a sort of aggregator for social media to be used by creators. Because of Boogie's claim, and really just defamation, Mobcrush came out with a statement saying that this was not possible. But it still gets worse. Now facing massive criticism for his persistent chain of lies, Boogie came out with a video titled Boogie2988 Exposed, citing his friend from the FBI this time and going over the drama.
I have a friend who works for the FBI, and I asked him how to deal with the online harassment that I get from a certain subreddit, from Kiwi Farms, from places like that. And he told me the only way to fight that stuff back is to expose those people for what they really are.
Within this video are some truths of the aggressiveness of some detractors.
They also attack literally anybody that I work with. Here's Andy Senor, who wanted to have me on his podcast tonight. Here they are tearing him a brand new hole for daring having worked with me. When I get a sponsor for the channel, they letter bomb those sponsors until that sponsor is worried about whether or not they should work with me.
At around 11 minutes, Boogie makes an audacious claim in that the Reddit post exposing him was doxing him, just like how he claimed in the Twitter thread, and also foreshadows another event in late 2020.
This time they crossed the line, though. That's just pure fact. In fact, I checked Google Cache, and here that is, right here. This is what they did. They called the cops to get my personal private information and put it on the internet. And I know that now that I'm posting these days here, you guys can figure out what my address is, but thanks to them, it's already out there. So not much I can do about it now. So go ahead, show up at the front door if you need to. But by posting this, he violates Reddit policy, and more importantly, he violates me. This is not something that's okay to do.
The comments were not having it. Some were displeased at Boogie still interacting with trolls, where Boogie said he was done feeding those idiots. Yet in a response to a different commenter, he says he will lie and do it again if it will help monsters like this pay for their harassment. There were also comments where they fight the claim that Boogie was doxxed through that Sam and Tolkien post where his address/dox was nowhere to be found. Only for him to reveal he understands that they did not share his address, only that other people could look up police blotters and find his publicly available address. This is still just January of 2020. There are 3 years of Boogie to cover, and it is almost guaranteed that, maybe not to this degree, you will find inconsistencies of Boogie for every month that he is on Twitter. By the end of this month, he released several tweets saying he is done and learned his lesson and moved on from repeating his mistakes. But here is where others get caught up in Boogie's lies, and that is, there are 2 parts to a mistake. The first is accepting it, understanding it, showing you know what you did wrong. The second, and most important, is applying what you learned through the action. Boogie only does the first half, and it is nothing but exhausting. Other creators see this and have been caught in this trap. Here is the Cold Ones podcast released in February 2020. Involving host, Anything for Views, guest Keemstar and Colossal is Crazy.
I have been friends, or at least friendly, with Boogie for...
Just before Keem goes into this rant, we have tried to be nice to Boogie, but he's been a cunt to us. How many times have we reached out to him?
I'm going to explain it right now.
I'm going to
explain it right now. My point of bringing up this story is that Boogie has been a fraud for a very long time. I
remember when he came on Baited.
He was talking about
I accused
Hitler.
him of certain things and asked him certain questions. He was like, yeah, man. 100%. You're right. It was like the most pandering bullshit, but you can't say anything after that. Because if you're admitting to everything I'm accusing you of, and you're like, yeah, man.
Yeah, you're right. Clown's like, you pander, you do this, and he's like,
I do this. I'm a fake person. He literally said that. He was like, I'm fake.
He told everyone over the summer, this last summer, 2019, he was going to kill himself. So we decided that we would save him. Every single one of us took time out of our days, talked to him on the phone for hours.
My time, the time out of my day was, don't listen to these retards in the group chat. Go see a therapist, you fat prick.
Regardless, we spent hours and hours talking to him. And he would not take any of our advice. And it became very clear that this dude wanted attention. He liked people calling him and talking to him on the phone, trying to help him more than actually fixing the problem. And that's what he was seeking. He was seeking someone to talk to.
While Keemstar describes Boogie as a fraud and his frustrations with him, Colossal describes the difficulty in not being able to push someone that accepts their mistakes. In the end, this really only hurt Boogie's reputation. While he was a liar and a manipulator for the events that transpired in the last month, he was also the biggest victim to his own shortcomings. But there was a glint of hope for his channel. Like in the past, he was making a terrible situation entertaining, and that was this video titled, Getting a Real Job Quitting YouTube in 2020. While the like to dislike ratio is not favorable, and it does have a clickbait nature to it, the immediacy of the silliness will inform the viewer that this is not a serious video, and is a skit where he gets a job at a gaming store and gets fired. Also, it had a good implementation of a sponsor that plays well into the video's comedy. This shows Boogie is still properly able to make the best out of a bad scenario, and that the joke of the channel failing created his most viewed video in a very long time. Additionally, there was some interesting plot lines with his character losing money in crypto, specifically Ethereum.
That's you.
And money? What's this?
That's the 6 months advance I need today. I need to invest it into Ethereum. Well, it's real low at like 169 right now. Hold on. You're what? I know what I'm doing, dude. Shut up.
In February, there was another hopeful video. A vlog in that he perfectly captures the criticism of his constant complaining, and that he plans to dedicate himself to avoiding the negativity of Twitter and focusing on entertainment.
Obviously, I haven't really been putting much personal stuff online. And I think it's a big part because people don't want to hear about that stuff anymore. Nobody wants to hear about my problems. They don't want to hear about my mental health, my physical health, because you guys are dealing with your own issues. You're dealing with your own problems. So why do you want to hear about mine, right?
Boogie expanded on this in further videos, exploring his visits to the game store, and his character was more and more desperate to earn money due to his failing YouTube channel and his cryptocurrency losses.
Like, Lynn, listen, I need your help, dude. Like, things are not, my channel is like dying, and all my money in Ethereum is like gone. And like I need this, dude. I need this.
He was getting the advice to improve and try different forms of content, and he was. While he had in the past largely made videos around skits, these new videos had different inspiration like a slow motion camera. Boogie also explains, out of character, that he had aspirations to start a business in the form of a rage room.
There is a seed of truth in this video, though, and that's I am actually looking at opening my own rage room or smash room or rec room or whatever you want to call them. Hopefully, if you come to Northwest Arkansas, you'll be able to visit Francis's rec room. I don't know if that's what we're going to call it, but hopefully you'll be able to visit it sometime soon. And I hope to have it up and running sometime this summer.
But this video was not nearly as successful as the last. And after a third video, Boogie, even considering the advice of other creators, went back to commenting on ongoing topics or sharing facets of his personal life. On his social medias, he looked to be still dedicated to a strategy of putting entertainment first. He was listening to advice and mostly avoiding responding to negative comments and seeking improvement privately. Even in April, he adhered to this. But in May, Boogie did a livestream. Raw thoughts will always get Boogie into trouble. Through Twitter, in person, or livestream, spewing his incomplete thoughts will continue to harm his reputation, and this stream was no exception when he was prompted about the documentaries made on him. For context, Christopher Tom made the first focused video on Boogie's downfall back in 2019, and Boogie credits this video for compiling his repeat mistakes and destroying his career, or at least speeding it up, as he said in this video also released in May.
The exact thing that I was terrified of was that Reddit thread would be broadcast to the world. A young gentleman by the name of Christopher Tom who had cancer, beat cancer, and then went on to destroy my career by signaling and broadcast signaling my mistakes and that Reddit thread and every stupid thing I've ever done happened. The exact thing I was terrified of.
In this stream, he was saying that Christopher Tom, because of his criticisms of Boogie, must hate him, and so does anyone else that makes videos on Boogie.
You think everyone who points this out is doing so out of hatred instead of love? No, I think Christopher Tom, certainly. I think Haberdasher, certainly. I think most of the people in that subreddit, yes. I think most people do want the worst for me. I do think a lot of these people do it out of cruelty because it's cruel to hold somebody to task, to like broadcast their mistakes and try to destroy their lives. It's not cruel. Love would be to leave me alone. If you loved me, you'd leave me alone.
This argument did not bode well, especially for someone like Boogie who will be overly critical about others and ascribe them to spreading misinformation, though does not provide proof or timestamp in critical videos where this quote-unquote misinformation is, and he himself explodes when he is accused of spreading misinformation. Christopher Tom, in response, made the same observation in his video responding to Boogie, in that he never points out specifics.
Again, I hate that there's misinformation. I hate that they're being misrepresented in some places.
What you'll notice is that Boogie doesn't bring up specifics. He'll talk about the videos without mentioning which videos he's talking about specifically. And he'll say that he's being misrepresented without substantiating that claim in any other way than saying that he made jokes that were taken out of context.
After an apology from Boogie, this event worked further to destroy his credibility.
I just want to be left alone. I am genuinely sorry for bringing you up.
Also, that video, where he states that Christopher Tom was partly responsible for destroying his career, has other interesting bits of information. First is that he is investing his money into something, but doesn't go into specifics.
Fortunately for me, I saved up a good chunk of money. I've invested it. Those investments will hopefully pay off. We'll see what happens, right?
He also understands talking about ending himself online causes much stress for others.
I think my biggest regret from this last summer was not going to professionals and instead going to colleagues and friends and family. And certainly talking to critics and fans was a horrible decision. So keep that stuff offline. Talk about it with your friends and your family. Definitely save it for the professionals. We'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Additionally, Boogie gives insight as to why he thinks he responds to negative comments rather than the positive ones.
In therapy, we talked about it potentially being because my abusers taught me to prioritize people who hate me, to prioritize people who are awful to me over the people who are good to me, because that's how an abuser keeps you there. I don't know.
Boogie has set himself two objectives: stop believing he is going to end himself, and stop responding to negative comments. The latter he also discussed in another video in May.
Instead of responding to that stuff like I did so much to my own detriment, instead of trying to placate that person, instead of trying to help that person or try to get them to understand the truth of the reality by having a private conversation with them, I'm just going to block them.
This is a good strategy. Instead of reaching out to random critics and endlessly talking to them, he will just block them.
I'm tired of being such a lolcow. And that is one of the reasons I did it so much. It was because I was forced by my stupid brain to interact with that shit.
Boogie believes if he stopped interacting with negative comments, he will stop being what is referred to as a lolcow. A lolcow is internet slang for infamous content creators that trolls will interact negatively with to get a reaction from them and milk them for the lols, hence lolcow. But that is only one side of a lolcow. To be one, you have to continuously repeat mistakes and not learn from them. Lolcows betray fans' hopes to get better as their words become more hollow. And the only way to interact with them will be to portray your frustrations, because they make it apparent that even positive comments will not bring change. And Boogie is still a lolcow, and a very shallow one at that. Though in May, he made 2 videos describing why it is a bad idea to respond to negative comments, on the 26th, he made it a point to showcase one. Also in May, he described the dangers of alluding to ending himself in the online space, but in July, he found it reasonable to tweet this: a coloring of a diagram that represents he is constantly stressed and thinking about death. Immediately after posting it, he apologizes for posting it. He couldn't even last a month without repeating his mistakes. Also a unique trait to him are his constant epiphanies. Moments of grand revelation meant to guide someone to realization and maybe a change in perspective. And his first notable epiphany of 2020 came the same day he tweeted that diagram. Quote, "Do you believe in manifestation and the power of positive thinking? The more I read about it, the more I realize I may have created my own misery." Unquote. 4 days after tweeting this, he was creating more of his own misery by responding to more negative comments, specifically from a thread trying to combat the idea that he was gaining a lot of weight, which he was because he gained around 19 pounds back in the last 6 months. Back to the thread, a Twitter user said, "If you weren't such a pathological liar and just minded your own business, you'd be fine." Boogie, responding to this, said, "Thank you for at least recognizing my mental illness and its role in it. But no offense, I don't think it's me that needs to be minding my own business." Boogie also linked to the definition of pathological, which the informal meaning implies obsession. The beauty of this is that Boogie likely intended this as a way to say the commenter is obsessed, but the message delivered was that Boogie knows he is a pathological liar and is obsessive in responding to these negative comments. His will is so broken that he was asking to be held accountable whenever he is negative about himself. For many, now in August, Boogie's attitude was exhausting and, frankly, a hassle. There was also a creator that was turning out to be quite the nuisance for Boogie. So Boogie decided to confront this creator through DMs as a way to stop this harassment via threatening tweets. Here Boogie says it's okay to kill him, but just not his dog or his friends. This creator responds saying that they should do a video together where he gives Boogie a pink belly until stomach has friction burns. Boogie says he agrees to this as long as he doesn't mean any serious harm. Then Boogie confronts this creator on a livestream historically known to escalate dramas. The creator he was beefing with is known as Frank Hassel, an abrasive individual that used a strategy Boogie did not know how to counter. When Boogie brought up his trauma as a defense for his lies, Frank made fun of him as is typical of the stream.
You speak in a very submissive tone of voice, like the language that you use and the way you talk to me. It's like you want me to dominate you.
Frank,
You're shaped like a punching bag. You're shaped like a bean bag.
I know. It's okay, Frank. It's gonna be all right, buddy. I love you, bud. All said, no bad blood.
This guy is fucking weird.
Yeah, all said, no bad blood, man. I feel bad for you. It's gonna be okay, Frank.
No bad blood. Did you hear what just happened the last hour?
Yeah, I don't.
The
I don't
worst
mean
blood. This is
AIDS-ridden
blood.
Boogie.
I'm just playing. You guys know.
The only thing you need to think about, the only thing you need to know about is that I'm going to show up and you're not going to win and it's going to be the worst day of your life.
Yeah, okay.
What made it worse for Boogie was that he kept attempting to paint himself as a pacifist or someone with higher morals than Frank, only for Frank to make fun of him and cause outrage from Boogie that showed immediate contrast to his claims and came across more shallow than he typically does. The near universal consensus is that Frank demolished Boogie in this stream. Viewers agreed so did the callers. Yet Boogie on Twitter tried to give the narrative that he was the victor in this insult-slinging contest. The more interesting part of this was the threat that Frank was going to come to Boogie's hometown and harass him. This was further discussed through Boogie's stream.
This whole Frank thing or whatever Frank guy, that scares me a little bit, but maybe he'll kill me, so there's hope.
What's more, the subreddit that previously rallied against Boogie, Sam, and Tolkien was banned. Also in the same note, Frank was further antagonized when his channel was banned in the same month. The next month, things escalated greatly. But before that, more contradictions. 2 months ago, he equated to exposing someone he is dating to the internet as an act of hatred and not love. It is malicious by his own words. Yet now in September, he was petitioning his audience for permission to include the person he was seeing in his videos. Besides being called out for inconsistencies, he was taking a victory lap. And then this was posted. Boogie continued to threaten that if Frank confronted him, he would use his firearm. A firearm that Boogie has claimed to have in the past. On September 27th, Boogie posted a video of someone ringing his doorbell, then leaving. Afterwards was this unreleased at the time conversation between Boogie and Frank the night of the 27th, with Keemstar as the moderator.
Come on, come on, I'm on your town, but I won't drive the extra 3 miles. I won't drive the extra 3 miles because I'm such a fucking. Show the fuck up. I will fucking end you. Come on. Try me.
You are fucking weirdo. You have mental problems.
Yes, I do. I'm very open about that.
Then on the 28th.
Oh, I will. No, I'm thinking my roommate will. I guess so, buddy. Just give me a second to get my dog wrangled. You're a fucking dude. Oh, hold on. I'll show you, bud. Yeah, I am. Protecting my dog, bud. Yes, sir. Is it cocked and ready? Let's just pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger.
Okay. Is this what I have to do?
You fat fucking.
I'm asking you to leave, Sam.
Oh my god.
I'm asking you
Is
to
this
leave.
real?
Yes.
Is this guy gonna kill me?
Yeah. In about 30 seconds, I'm gonna fire a warning shot.
Fire it now. Okay. Fire the warning shot now.
Boogie trended massively after the confrontation went viral. There were articles, creators covering the situation, streams discussing the events, and possibly hundreds of memes made. Also, the day of, Boogie posted the doorbell footage of the confrontation after giving some context to the events that led to that. The video was titled, "Confronting a Stalker, Do Not Come to a YouTuber's House." The comments here were mostly supportive. One user recommends, "Get a lawyer ASAP. A warning fire can turn into attempted murder real quick." Another has a similar message in saying, "Boogie, never fire a warning shot. You are responsible for that bullet." And of course, there were comments pointing out the surrealness of this tense interaction, citing Hassel saying, "You're gonna kill me?" with them summarizing Boogie as, "I guess so, buddy." Also, with Boogie holding the title manipulator and liar, there was a lot of questioning to whether this was faked or a stunt to breathe life into his dying channel.
Everything in my gut is telling me that it was fake. Everything I know about video production and the internet and everything else is telling me that it is fake, but I don't know.
Frames were analyzed of the shot. People tried to find any inconsistencies that could prove this was scripted. There was condemnation for how Boogie handled the event, in that he optimally should have waited for the police to come and not fired a shot into the air. But there was also sympathy for a creator that was harassed at his own home. This perspective was iterated among the many videos mostly in support of Boogie, and as terrible as this event was, it turned out to be really helping Boogie. Because of the memes and the absurdity of it all, the entire thing became a spectacle. Two other things were going well for Boogie by the end of this year. The PS5 was coming out, and Boogie capitalized on its release with a series of videos. For the first time in 2020, he reached 3 million monthly views. But this was also the last time he would reach such a metric. Even so, he had investments in the background that were doing very well. Maybe too well, where he was oversharing and self-depreciating with Twitter videos like this one.
I just want to say that money is makeup for men. Women who are not that attractive can put on makeup and look way more attractive. Well, men who are ugly like me, and I don't have to tell you that. You can see that I'm ugly. Men who are ugly like me, if you want to date attractive women out of your league, you need to start saving up.
Although in the past he noted that exposing those that he is seeing to his audience is an act of malice, he still posted, albeit a not easy to identify at first glance, image of the woman he was seeing. He was also telling people through DMs that he met this woman through a mutual friend. But also he established that earlier this year that both his DMs will be leaked and fact-checked. Through his negligence and his troll's obsession, she was later identified through the tattoos on her fingers and traced back to Seeking.com, the sugar daddy website Boogie was infamously known for using. That's when they found her and contacted her, which Boogie claims to have caused their exchange to stop. So that did not pan out. How about Boogie finally distancing himself from his trolls online? Especially after hassle, the benefits should be clear. By the start of October, he says how awful it is, and he is pulling back. 4 days after that statement, another epiphany.
There's a third group of people, though, who are convinced that I'm the instigator, they're convinced I'm the bad guy, convinced that I should have never, all kinds of, and they say you're a crazy, manipulative, fat piece of shit. Those people, I have finally learned that I no longer care what they have to say.
Boogie says he finally learned. This was a lie, as he continued to interact with trolls or negative replies in his posts. To be so weak-willed is a very dangerous thing, and though he understands that the weight loss surgery had done as much as it could, from January to November he gained around 12 pounds. Yet nothing bad would happen if he kept this private. Ridicule and insults were likely the results of his weight updates, and maybe he knew he was adding more fuel to the fire. That is one of the hardest things to grasp about Boogie. There never seems to be preemptive thoughts, he just dedicates himself to his current feelings or ideas. Like this Twitter video he released in December as a parody of Belle Delphine selling her bathwater. As for his channel, his videos were just as inspired. To expand on that, even before Boogie's loss of reputation, his views and interest in him were falling steeply because of his uninteresting, unfocused, rambling videos that could not compete with a new generation of content creators. And even with the advice from other creators to have focus in what he makes, he disregards it. And though he stated in the past he is not a manipulator, he still portrays not only that he is not one, but also that he is a man of much wisdom.
The public perception of Boogie is a manipulator and he's just talking about this stuff because he wants to get shekels and cash money, and you know, that's always going to be a challenge, and I hate it. But here's the good news. I know it's not true. And if you're watching this, you made it this far in the video, you know it's not true. So let people think what they want to think. Who cares, right? If they don't want the help I can provide, if they don't want the wisdom, if they don't want the knowledge of the mistakes I have made and learn how to not make those mistakes and do better than me, they don't have to have it.
Even here, Boogie spouts a nugget of truth and irony.
As my therapist said, you cannot rationalize with irrational people. It's not a thing that can be done. They are dug in and they're going to do what they do. That's why we're going to do what we do.
As uncertain as Boogie was, by the start of 2021, there was finally a reward for his lack of forethought, when he revealed that his investments in crypto were making him a lot of money in a video released on January 18, 2021, titled, "I Am Finally Rich, How Crypto Made Me Rich."
You remember back in 2019 when I was completely out of my mind and talking openly on Twitter and elsewhere about just deleting myself at some point? I did something very stupid that I do not recommend anyone else ever do. But it worked. I basically took every dime I had in liquid funds and invested it in a huge gamble. And I did this at the advice of my friend Jesse Ridgway, McJuggernuggets, who guaranteed that money, saying that if the money disappeared, he would help take care of me and help me rebuild. Well, fortunately, the money didn't disappear. And my thought process at the time was, look, even if it does disappear, I can always just go ahead through with my stupid plans. And if I end up making a lot of money, then I can stick around to spend that money or leave it to somebody so that it could do some good, give some of it away, do cool stuff with it.
Jesse, better known as McJuggernuggets, was Boogie's longtime friend and fellow YouTuber that could be seen in several collaborations between both channels. Their friendship is very public and has held through controversies from both sides. At least so far. Additionally, in this video, he is now deciding to own stupid people.
I like voicing my opinions even when they're unpopular, even when they get me in trouble. I like talking about the things I want to talk about. I know it upsets a lot of people, sometimes very, very stupid people. And I also like the part where I own the very, very stupid people on Twitter. That's what Twitter is. It's now a toxic playground. And if that's how people want to play, I hate to admit, as nice as I've wanted to be my whole life, as nice as I've always wanted to be, when it comes to just owning somebody who's so stupid he's doing damage to me or other people, I've kind of learned to enjoy it. Sad but true.
Yet last year, he stated that he cares about his trolls. He cares what they think about their lives and wants to help them. He even positioned himself above creators that ignore trolls because he cares so much. These contradictions are so prominent in Boogie's history that there are far too many to call out. And for that reason, going forward, his specific lolcow traits will be referred to as Boogie-isms to simplify the concept of his contradicting nature, as that has become the only thing that can be reasonably expected from him. That and these Twitter videos.
Do you guys know the name of the song that goes like this? It says, "Hi, my name is, hi, my name is, hi, my name is, chicka 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 Slim Shady." What's the name of that song?
As readers will almost always react negatively to Boogie-isms as his words mean nothing, it is his actions that are typically received positively, from weight loss to other factors of improvement. Improvement like his newfound wealth through crypto.
But there are so many of you who are ecstatic for me or happy for me to know that I am financially safe and sound and secure. And you have been so fucking kind about it and so fucking sweet. And I can't believe it. I got just so used to people hating me on the internet that I had no really idea of how many of you guys are rooting for me.
But in February, he was still in for more. He had his cash in Ethereum, one of the less volatile currencies in the crypto space. Late February, it looked like he was making even more money. Not through direct confirmation from Boogie, but from him sharing his ideas of what he would do after YouTube. Meaning that he was earning enough to move on from being a creator to invest in his own business and starting the next chapter of his life.
I'm starting the next chapter of my life, and in the next chapter of my life, I'm not going to be a YouTuber. And that's okay. It sucks. I mean, it hurts a little bit, but it's okay, because that's life.
In March, there were more Boogie-isms, asking his viewers for quote-unquote ass-pats for not having mental breakdowns on Twitter. Yet he was still interacting with negative comments, even claiming a user made 9 accounts to troll him. More importantly were these 2 items. Boogie pulled out of the crypto market and was confident in sharing his success.
So I protected all my money. I got my money and I moved it out of the way, and now the market's tanking and maybe I'll buy back in when it hits the bottom.
And with his newfound wealth, he did not need people to donate to him or the like. He was also labeling himself as an attention seeker.
Because at first I thought, well, that's just because I like attention. But then I realized I've received a lot of negative attention, and I do not like negative attention. I like positive attention. I like it when people are entertained and enjoy the stuff that I create. That's what I like.
It should be noted that a clear indicator of Boogie's mental state is how much he is tweeting. If he feels more fulfilled or distracted, there will be less tweets or any online interaction. In May, even though there was a warrant out for his arrest for discharging his firearm during the Frank Hassel event, and after he turned himself in, this mugshot was produced, he was mostly off Twitter. Finding fulfillment outside of the internet was something that was always recommended to Boogie, and he was doing just that. Things were not perfect. There were still a lot of Boogieisms, and he still had a lot of money. Or did he? In this video posted July 9th, he talks about his continued investments into crypto and has taken some losses on his overall profit.
So for those of you who don't pay attention to the crypto market, just like the stock market, everything is down, down, down. This is a downturn. But just like anybody else investing, I put stop sells into place. So if things fell to a certain point, even when I wasn't paying attention, even when I was asleep, everything would automatically sell off for me. So that's something I did. Now, I did hit several stop sells during these crashes, meaning I lost a good chunk of the profit. So am I as rich as I was when I made that video? No.
This comes from video answering questions on a subreddit. It is clear through the Q&A that people are still very much exhausted with him.
You remind me of one of those people that are depressed but don't want to get better because they don't want to lose the attention they receive from people feeling sorry for them. You're obsessed with attention and people feeling sorry for you. For a man your age, it's kind of weird. It's something you would expect from a teenager. That's obviously your interpretation. It's not what I feel like I'm doing. It's not what my friends and family feel like I'm doing. It's not what my therapist thinks I'm doing. But I do understand your interpretation of that. I think it's pretty obvious to even the dumbest person that I'm making progress, right?
Regardless, he was still doing better, and he was applying the advice he had been given over and over.
Okay, how's your crypto bags? Hey, so I was out of the game for a really long time, and then I bought back in during last night's crash, and I've already made some money. In fact, hold on, let me check my bag right now. Since last night, and it's currently setting at 35.21, so I've made some money. So I'm hoping it goes back up to its 4K peak and I'll pull back out again. If it doesn't, that's okay.
Because Boogie's incessant ranting online is tied to how happy he is, then it makes sense that by September 2021, after buying into crypto yet again, even after announcing those losses in July, the further crashing of the market, the losses of his security would have him fall into his worst habits.
I'm just trying to make a quick 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 to, off of crypto money to fucking pay for this Disney trip.
The same month of this reinvestment, he posted his weight on Twitter, 384 pounds. In March of this same year, he was 371. Last year, he was getting criticized for being at 363. It is important to note that he was asking for help relating to the weight, but then went on to post this Twitter video.
All right, gentlemen, I've called this meeting for one reason and one reason only. I want to talk about my tits.
He looks to have unfurled himself over a surface and what looks to be an indoor pool. Then you look at a video posted just 3 minutes later and he is shirtless in a hotel with a near-empty carton of fries.
Gentlemen, how do we kill the Superman?
We know this because Boogie says he is in a hotel. 3 days later, he was featured on the Twitter gimmick account Fats Taking L's in a video that is no longer available. Boogie did not react positively to this. Also lacking context was this clip from a stream around this time.
I mostly think that because I'm really lonely, and if I could find a dude who would suck, I'd let him, but I never will, because I'm going to die alone. Even, there's no dude on the planet desperate enough to suck this, but if I could find him, I would love him. If I could find a dude or a woman or a trans person, or I don't care, whatever you are, if you want to me, I'll fuck you. I'm just glad to have it. At this point, I'll let you do whatever you want to for human goddamn contact. All right? Give me some human contact at this fucking point. I don't care.
Boogie was making the rounds and being inflammatory. For this, he apologized.
So I'm going to go try to concentrate on the good and apologize for falling back into this old habit. When you got a few hundred people coming at you hard like that, sometimes it's hard to not respond, but
in the start of November, he makes it clear where this wave of negativity through his side came from.
I have decided to go off my antidepressant. And in fact, I decided a while back. I've been off of it now for about 3 weeks. And I'm definitely starting to feel the effects of not being on it anymore. But it's all an important part of a stupid experiment that I am trying, which I do not recommend you do. But did some internet research, watched some YouTube videos, and I found that psilocybin mushrooms, which don't work if you're on an antidepressant, when microdosed, can help people who have eating disorders, who help people who have anxiety, PTSD, and depression, all of which I have.
That is an interesting strategy to use psychedelics to change oneself. This does confirm he is in a poor mental state and why he is lashing out. This is the beginning of another meltdown cycle. These start with him feeling terrible, so he embarrasses himself online. He pushes back and embarrasses himself more before ultimately apologizing, only to start another cycle. In this case, on top of everything else, his court date for discharging his firearm was approaching, and there was a possibility he could go to jail. This stress materialized into a tweet about how Post Malone, following him on Twitter, got him laid once, and that he was about to have sex again with a different woman because of it as well. This tweet was likely a joke, but doesn't land because it does seem like something that Boogie would do. When Boogie's tweet is uniquely embarrassing, it was spread to other social medias. In this case, his tweet was at the top of the subreddit r/thathappened, showing a disbelief in one's stories. Commenters joke about the unlikelihood of this joke/story. She goes to a different school. It's true. Everything else I pretend to look for in a guy is really just a lead-in to finding out who his Twitter connections are. That was 100% satire. Really cringe and bad satire, but satire nonetheless. With 12,000 upvotes and 369 comments, it was expected to bleed into Boogie's own subreddit, and it did. In response, the man himself responded in a deleted post saying, "It's always hilarious to me how easy these people are to bait. Their rage is better than any sex I've ever had. Bwah ha 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 ha." Boogie was annoyed enough to respond. The trolls won. But he went even further. He tweeted out this image stating, "I love that my post about the girl I am dating is at the top of r/thathappened. She got a kick out of it." This was yet another victory for his detractors. This took place on November 20th and on November 21st. On November 22nd, he announced he was done interacting with those angry at him in reference to the last 2 days.
I'm done. I'm going to try really hard to not engage with these people anymore. Then again, I also tried really hard to not eat a cheeseburger for dinner. And I failed at both.
In less than 24 hours, Boogie was back to giving trolls attention. This time, it was a postcard that was sent to him that supported Frank Hassel and hopes Boogie dies. We know this because Boogie thought it was a good idea to post it on Twitter. But in the end, this person's tactic worked. So in response, I said, "And it worked. Dude, why are you giving them so much attention?" Boogie responded back with,
"Well, somebody went through all the trouble to mail a postcard, right? So why not give them the attention they're so desperately needing in their lives, the attention their parents or women don't give them? Plus, there's this microscopic hope in my heart that maybe he'll see the tweet, right? And he'll show it to one of his friends, provided he has any, and he'll be like, 'Hey, look at this postcard that I sent Boogie,' in which I call him a and stuff." And his friend will respond by saying, "You did what now? And also why? And also we're not friends, and go fuck yourself because you're a piece of shit." Like maybe someone out there can hold him accountable.
He was now saying he wanted to give them attention because they would possibly gossip about it to a friend and be held accountable. That stance did not hold because on the 24th he repents and he says he should not have shared that postcard. Next month, to end 2021, yet another Boogieism. Quote, "My New Year's resolution is this. I am done acknowledging people who dislike me online. I am done addressing the mistakes of my past. Please help me do this." Unquote. Below, he posted video rehashing this message. Fast forward to January 5th, 2022, Boogie celebrates being 5 days into his resolution by breaking it. 5 days into my New Year's resolution, and I ain't said nothing about my mistakes in the past or talked to shy and negative people. Keemstar responds, "You just did." Boogie responds to Keemstar, "You ain't wrong." Okay, but maybe that wasn't breaking his resolution. And then 9 days later, he went completely back to ignoring the positive comments and responding to the negative ones disagreeing with him. Except this time, he was developing a new reason for this. On February 1st, he reveals to all of Twitter that he has a supernatural ability called empathy. He is hyper aware of others' feelings to the point that being in large groups of people is difficult for him because of his power. Also on the 25th, a weight update at 386.2 pounds, 1.2 pounds less since his last weight update 3 months ago, but up 3 pounds since his weight update before that one. The next month, yet another Boogieism. After promoting how empathetic he was, and that his New Year's resolution was to ignore the haters, he was making it a point to attack them.
I love this comment because every time I see it, I'm reminded about the fact that, yes, 14 years ago, I had one viral video. And I took the momentum from that viral video and I turned it into millions of subscribers on YouTube and hundreds of millions of views and all of the ad revenue and perks that came with it. I went from being on disability and living in poverty to having this nice house with arcade machines and other great stuff. And you're right. Not as many people watch my videos as used to, but enough people still watch it to where I'm able to pay my bills and save some money every month, and I'm doing pretty good. And I definitely fell off. But forget about me for a minute. How's your internet presence going? Did you get your viral video yet? Did you ride that wave of virality for 14 years and earn enough money to save your life and make your life better? If not, man, don't worry about me. Get to work. I believe you can do it. If I can, anyone can. Good luck.
There is so much to dissect from this 55-second Twitter video. Halfway through, he is flaunting his wealth. He is flaunting his nice house and toys. This is a less damning thing from people that have financial security, but Boogie's crypto investments that doubled as his savings were still tanking. He cites his average view counts as doing well, though his average monthly view counts aren't even half of what they were in 2020. Additionally, those view counts pale in comparison to the ones prior. Furthermore, his videos, especially the older ones, were being demonetized and cutting deeply into his monthly earnings. This is to say, the material and metrics Boogie is trying to flaunt are not even real. And to attack a random commenter for such a basic comment, to then ask if they achieve the same things in an insulting manner is a strange thing for an empath that cares for their detractors to do. Analyzing this further, there must be a part of Boogie that is seeking this negative attention. That means something in his personal life has gone wrong. That something was revealed to be his ongoing legal battle that he was taking a plea deal for.
And because of all of this, I was confident. My lawyer was confident. Hell, I even think the prosecutor was confident that if this went to court, I would walk away completely unscathed. That's why we got the deal that we got, right? Any jury who saw those videos, who saw those threats, who saw that harassment is probably going to side with me. And it's better for the prosecutor in this situation to get his victory than to have that court loss, I think.
There are additional videos on this subject released this month. One of them opens with a video of him selling a t-shirt of that event, and also confirms what Frank Hassel said in the stream that they both partook in 2 years ago.
This video is proudly sponsored by me and the cool t-shirts that I had designed here at Merchland. Yeah, some of these are the worst day of my life, but the good news is every time you buy one of these $25 t-shirts, $9 goes back into my pocket and helps me recoup the cost I spent on legal fees defending myself from arguably the worst day of my life.
In a different video, he is trying to dispel the notion of where the bullet he shot may have dropped.
Like one of the most common memes that I heard that was just completely fabricated is that I shot towards a school or I'm in a school zone. My house is not in a school zone. Look at Google Maps. The nearest school is miles away from me, and I was facing the opposite direction, so I didn't shoot at a school. Another insane thing I heard was that I invited him here, when that is the opposite of reality. I told him once he was in my town that if you come to my home, that I would be forced to defend myself. Do not come here.
This all produced more attention to what he deemed the worst day of his life. His Twitter, as it usually was, wasn't looking any better. Like in this video where he admits he doesn't even do basic chores.
For those of you who don't know this, me and my best friend of the last 26 years have lived together and been hetero life partners like Jay and Silent Bob the whole time. And 5 years ago when I got divorced, I knew I was going to have to hire a maid service and I was going to have to hire lawn care, and he decided to just do all of that stuff for me in exchange for a lot less than those services are going to run me. And I'm so grateful for it because I don't think I could function without him. Well, I've got a proof of that in the last 3 weeks. He's been helping a family member, and that's left me to do most of the things that need to be done around here. And I don't, why, first off, let me say, why did they make being a human being so fucking hard? Wow. And then if you're morbidly obese and you're doing that, I know how hard that is. In the physical pain I'm in and just the misery that I'm in, it's so hard to get this shit done. And then if you're dealing with depression and you get this stuff done, you're fucking superhuman. Wow. I don't know why they made being a human being so difficult. And I'm so lucky to have the people in my life that helps. I hope you have that support structure too. It's so important. If you don't, try to seek it out, because being a human is fucking hard. And I think we all deserve a pat on the back for just surviving in this shitty world we live in. You really do. Pat yourself on the back right now.
Boogie admits to Twitter that it was previously his wife's responsibility, and then it became his roommate's in exchange for rent or something relating to his living situation. Yet he treats standard living practices as a victory, making himself an easier target for detractors that reference his man-child-like behavior. Another interesting bit about Boogie's tweets are that he rarely deletes them. As typical for large content creators, their content creator friends will reach out to them behind the scenes to advise them to delete Twitter posts to help their friend's reputation. And Boogie is either not taking this advice, which is expected, or his group of friends is shrinking. Back in January, he spoke about how he and McJuggernuggets, a longtime content creator friend that collaborated with Boogie many times in the past, had a falling out in 2019.
So me and Jesse are fine now, but back in 2019, I was out in LA for a YouTube convention, and I flew all the way from LA to Arkansas, slept here for 2 hours, then got on a plane to fly to Jesse's to film his big Halloween thing back in 2019. And I got there a little loopy, a little tired, a little out of it, and I was being my usual Twitch self where I'm telling like goofy and gross jokes all night. So I think that rubbed Psycho Dad the wrong way for sure. I go upstairs to take a nap, and when I come back down, there's another content creator there by the name of Grim, I think from Grim's Toy Show, and he brought a couple of strippers. I mean, that's what they were. They were professional strippers, and in comes Psycho Dad, pretty much in character and just angry and mad and screaming, "What ails you?" And he's mad at these girls for being so provocative, and they ask Grim and the two girls to leave, and it's just, it's awkward and uncomfortable for everyone there. And I thought it was a bit. I did. Grim handed me his phone and said, "Film this," and I thought it was a Storyfire bit. Made perfect sense. Turns out it was not a bit. They were just not happy that these girls were doing what they were doing. I think Psycho Dad was upset that I didn't kick the girls out or stop them from like twerking or whatever. I immediately apologized to Psycho Dad for filming it because I thought it was a bit, made sure he understood it wasn't on my phone, it was on Grim's phone. Everything seemed okay, and then later that night, we're filming at like 3 o'clock in the morning, everybody's exhausted and tired, and I made an off-color joke to Psycho Dad, and Psycho Dad, putting it very politely here, basically told me to leave.
Boogie also gives McJuggernuggets credit for his crypto gains and, more so now, losses. Another creator friendship destroyed was with Ethan Klein, the host of the H3 podcast that had Boogie on as a guest at least 3 times. On April 1st, 2022, Ethan tweeted out that there was no podcast that day because he was bedridden. Boogie quote-tweeted it with a message that established people do not like Ethan, and that Ethan should be taking better care of himself mentally and physically. Boogie then tries to pass this off as advice, but because it was from him, it was nothing but insulting. Ethan, on April 4th, responded to this on his livestream.
But when you have someone muted, when they at you and quote tweet you, it still shows up, so I had to unfollow him after this because I honestly just can't deal with seeing his tweets anymore. He goes, apparently Ethan's in the hospital. I know a lot of people don't like this guy, but I really wish he'd take better care of himself. Dude he can't even wish someone well without sitting on the fence. He's like, I hope you live. He's like, you know, I know a lot of people don't like him, but I hope he lives. It's like, can you not sit on a fucking fence when wishing someone well at least? This is the first thing I see. I know a lot of people don't like this guy. Fuck you, dude. Dumbass. Such a weirdo. Why bother even tweeting that? Who doesn't like me? Keemstar? You know?
Apparent by Ethan's comments, he was long exhausted with Boogie at this time. Later in the podcast, Ethan realizes that Boogie just posted an apology to him in video form, but chooses not to react to it.
Can't do it. I just saw a comment about it.
Yeah. We should probably wrap it up since you're a sick boy.
This spurred Boogie into constantly tweeting about Ethan in April. Detractors of Ethan were backing up Boogie and framing this as Ethan always hated Boogie, and used it as another event to show how bad of a person Ethan was. But Boogie, in this chain of tweets, started off by showing how good of a person he was by not using this as an opportunity to attack or criticize Ethan for relevancy. Then, 2 days later, he says that Ethan, like others, was only using Boogie for views in the past. This turned into Boogie becoming the very same thing he was criticizing Ethan for. Boogie even released a video on the 19th about Ethan that has self-contained irony.
I don't know if it's the depression, I don't know if it's the anxiety, but most of the time when Ethan's making jokes, he's making jokes at somebody else's expense, and he instigates more drama than he's involved in, which is saying something because the man is constantly getting sued and constantly in other types of drama, right? So it makes you wonder how he did not expect this to happen. Don't be throwing stones unless you know you do not live in a glass house.
Late April, the veil completely drops as Boogie is fully attacking Ethan. On April 28, 2022, Boogie tweeted, "I admired Ethan, was a fan, looked up to him, told him that. Wanted his friendship so badly that I went back to do his show fucking times to try to start that friendship. Then one day, he shit talks me on his show in front of the world. I am bitter as shit. Fuck him." And he was bitter. On June 17, 2022, Boogie tweeted, "The worst thing I've ever done to Ethan is be fatter than him and still be more successful. He's just bitter." While Boogie is much fatter than Ethan Klein, he was never successful to the degree that Ethan was. There were also two other things going on with Boogie around this time. The first was relating to Ethan. Keemstar was being more chummy with Boogie, likely because of Keemstar and Ethan's eternal feud. The second was Boogie, for the umpteenth time, committing to not responding to negativity.
All right, I'm going to commit right now to reinvesting in that. It's April, 13th today? Let's see if we can get a good 30 days without me responding to one of these dipshits.
Boogie did not last 30 days. He didn't even last half of that. He didn't even last half of that. Just a day after committing to ignoring the hate, he tweeted this.
Since surgery, I lost over 120 pounds, kept it off. From my biggest, I lost over 200 pounds, so, get your eyes checked, friend.
Now, on the 15th, he apologizes for his responding to negativity and then doubles down on responding to negativity, ending it with saying he cares about his detractors.
It's so hard not to respond to this stuff because I'm worried about this person. I'm genuinely worried about this person. I'm worried about their own mental health, but also, are they the kind of person that would do some crazy shit? Probably.
This is the second time in 24 hours he responded to negativity. And clearly, he cares about his detractors and their mental well-being because he chooses to compliment them like this.
There's a very common theme in the comments on today's video, and it's, there's no way you could get laid. You don't get laid. You've never gotten laid. Man, it's so easy. And I'm going to teach you how to get laid by a woman. Okay, first off, you're going to have to go where women are. So that means you're going to have to leave your mom's basement.
This got the attention of more trolls, as it always does, and it never ends. On the 25th of April, he made a video about his body and his low testosterone, which gave us this line.
But it turned out I was, in fact, a soy boy. I was a low-T cuck.
These moments and tweets move up in the ranks and gain traction. There are many viewers that are aware of Boogie that form opinions but never voice them. But rest assured that Boogie was catching attention from more creators once again. He was even mentioned on the official podcast episode 283.
Like you said, you know, it's the thing with Boogie is like he's very open about it, and I think he thinks it's like a positive, but it's like I just don't understand. Like, it's not the optic that you want to have, right? Like, fucking everyone's a little different behind the scenes, you know what I mean? But it's like,
oh, what, you mean being cringe? Yeah.
Well, I mean, like,
cringe on main.
I mean, I was looking at one of his channel recently, and it was like one of the videos that popped up was I tried being a sugar daddy. And I was like, dude, why would you even jump into that, you know? Like, what the fuck? Like,
Kaya has a pretty good theory for this, and I am slowly starting to believe him. So, Kaya, what is it? He has a humiliation fetish.
Boogie responded to this. Even with admitting to not listening to the podcast, he still equates the remarks to those of high school bullies.
So I guess my name came up on the official podcast again. Mutahar was a guest, Charlie hosting, the usual guys there. And I guess they dunked on me a little bit. I don't know, I haven't heard it yet. But they did ask a question, and I thought it'd be fair to answer that question and tag them in it. Do I have a humiliation fetish? And the answer is no, it is not a fetish. It is, however, a way of life for me. And people such as Charlie and Muta and everyone else seem to have a huge negative impact towards it. People would put bras in my locker in high school because I was fat and had man tits. I would approach a girl and she'd run away from me like I was covered in boils and fucking bees. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is about me that's so off-putting and upsetting, but I used to hide that shit from people like you.
Just 2 days later, another Twitter video stating that he doesn't care if he is hated by creators, yet still cares enough to make a video about it.
In the last month or so, I've seen two major YouTubers who I watch, love, and respect decide they're done with my shit, right? Ethan from H3H3, Mutahar, Ordinary Gamers. I thought about this for a lot today, and I even texted my therapist about it. And you know what? It hurts a little bit, but otherwise I don't give a shit anymore. I like, no offense to Ethan, but who gives a shit if Ethan likes you anymore? And I don't fucking know Muta.
As Boogie would learn, creators' opinions were about to be the least of his concern. One of his shitcoins he was investing in crashed steeply, and that wasn't the only one. His panic was reflected on stream.
How's the crypto crash hitting you? Not great! I will take your subscriptions today. I will definitely take your donations and subscriptions today. Crypto market crash is not fun. I am sweating it. I'm sweating bullets, boys. You remember this time a year ago I made a video saying I'll never have to work again and I'm fine and everything else? Should have pulled out of the market then. I did not. I mean, I think it's going to go back up at one point, but, you know, for it is right now, scary times, boys. I'm not comfortable telling you how much I lost, but I definitely lost very much into the six figures.
Now, with his investments in jeopardy, there were even more eyes on him. A different locale, known as Wings of Redemption, even commented on his habits.
I'm almost certain Boogie's like a sex fiend, but yeah. Like, Boogie, like, if you ever looked at any of Boogie's stuff, like, he hung out with a lot of people that were obviously, like, escorts.
Not all conversation was bad. Likely through his newly repaired friendship with Keemstar, there were talks about him getting in a ring with another content creator, and word was spreading fast.
Okay. Did you hear about Sam Hyde and Boogie? That they're apparently going to fight?
I did see that.
Yeah, Boogie says he's going to do it.
Does
Sam Hyde get to bring his... I'm sorry, does Boogie get to bring his gun?
No.
He'll need that.
No, it was a joke, and like I don't even think it was instigated by Sam Hyde or anything. It just came up, and then Boogie was like, "I'll fight Sam Hyde. I'll get my ass kicked and punched and this and that." And like a guy who's never been hit by someone who's 6'7" and like talking, and he was like, "But I'm gonna see what my doctor has to say." Yeah, and like, what doctor on the planet is gonna say that Boogie is good to go for a boxing match? No one.
Boogie's a tough motherfucker. He was on the show.
In June, Boogie discussed this potential match.
Another reason I want to get into this boxing thing is because I've been offered money to do it.
In the same video, he also delves into his massive losses with crypto.
That did not stick. As we all know, the crypto market took a nice big dump. I made a couple of bad trades with the advice of a friend, and I definitely do not have that kind of security anymore.
Something different happened. Normally, when Boogie is having the rough of it, he falls into deeper anger, tweets more, and keeps on cycling through controversy. But it may have been the boxing match that gave him new motivation.
I was reading comments on that latest YouTube video. Boy, you guys sure love to see me winning.
Even with constant hate and continued loss of views and his savings, he was surprisingly taking a possibly genuine outlook on his life. His Twitter, still not entirely clean of avoiding negative responses, showed him putting work in the gym. He was talking about his strides in therapy. In his videos, he was dancing around enthusiastic with the progress he was making.
Is this the best I've looked in years?
And even though he couldn't fight the person he wanted to, Keemstar, one of the founders of Happy Punch, was guaranteeing him a boxing match once he found someone suitable. To add to these victories, a deranged detractor came out to one of Boogie's panels, and in person accused Boogie of being an abuser.
More questions. Anybody back here? Question. Right there, sir.
Other than John Lennon's musical career, his lifestyle, what are you a fan of other than feeding the crap at your significant other, Desiree Williams, like you did Yoko Ono?
Wait, are you implying that I hit my ex-wife?
It's not an implication, that's a direct accusation.
Well, it's obviously not something I ever did. Yeah, my ex-wife has even said on Twitter that didn't happen?
Now.
Well, she's never said the opposite, bud. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah. I assure you don't. Who here thinks he's right? Who here thinks I'm the kind of person that would hit a woman? Anybody? Who here thinks he's wrong? Let's hear it.
I think he's an asshole that needs to understand what this is.
But if you think I'm the kind of person that would never hit a woman, can I get a round of applause to show
the interaction itself is unpleasant. But Boogie handled it well, as the detractor was unable to produce any evidence to substantiate the claim that he was making. The reason this is so significant is Boogie complains on media platforms about people accusing him for things the general viewer base understands are not true, like him being an abuser of any kind because there is no evidence to prove it. And when someone brings it up, it is accepted that they are not being genuine and just want to troll Boogie. That's why it is hard to believe that it is that much of a constant bother as Boogie makes it seem. So for a stranger to come out and accuse Boogie of such things looked terrible on his detractors as a whole, finally providing evidence, sympathy, and credibility to the annoyances of Boogie's daily life. On the topic of his videos, he was seeing himself as improving, but also not making the repeat mistake of guaranteeing improvement. He was showing potential to change not just his habits, but how he was viewing himself. Could Boogie truly change for the better right now? Now in August, he was opening booster packs to experiment with content. In this video, he opened $700 worth of magic cards to only get 18,000 views. Even with generous CPM, that's around a $650 loss. The following unboxing videos were also as successful, yet Boogie was not lashing out because of it. Another boon was Kiwi Farm was down on the ClearNet and amounted to even less trolling for Boogie. Could Boogie really change and believe he could change?
But I'm beginning to understand that if I don't believe I can get better, I can't get better. In therapy, I guess I'm learning the tools that will allow me to change the way I think. But is it possible to change the way you believe? This is a video I've dreaded making. I'm asking for your help as we head into the holiday season.
Called I Need Your Help.
I Need Your Help video.
I Need Help. This one you're talking about?
And just over a year later, Boogie posted a new video titled I Need Your Help.
Why even make this in the first place? Just start making the content and see how it goes, instead of like the guilt trip.
On October 5th, 2022, Boogie was once more gaining attention through Twitter and YouTube. Boogie, the person that previously flaunted his wealth and did things in the past, such as buy $700 in magic cards the month prior, use his wealth, put himself over his detractors, spent likely in the triple digits on being a sugar daddy, and stated he was ready to move on from YouTube, now uploaded a video titled I Need Your Help. The thumbnail, themed like his other ones around this time, had him photoshopped to appear fatter. The contents begin with him stating that his crypto investments were a bust. His nest egg was gone and he was going to increase his YouTube workload to survive while also asking viewers to support him even with all that he said in the past.
The bad reason is I'm finally in a position where I have to get back to work. And I'm not making any excuses here. You know I spent a tremendous amount of money on dumb things. But the biggest issue is that I had a nice big nest egg. I took some financial advice from a friend, and I'm not pointing fingers necessarily. I took the advice, but I put my money in the crypto market in the wrong section, and I pretty much lost most of everything. That sucks. That really sucks. It is what it is, though. I mean, like, I've come to terms with it, but I need to get back to work. I have some savings, but they're going quickly. And if I don't start live streaming and making content and getting ad revenue and stuff again, I'm going to lose everything.
What's more, he admits his channel is worsening in its decline because even his older viral videos were being pulled from YouTube's algorithm, which is ruining his discoverability overall.
And the biggest issue I think I'm facing is that YouTube is starting to take my old videos out of rotation. The table, the Francis Mountain Dew video, the dramatic fat guy splash. Those videos made next to no money because they were short and because they didn't get a lot of ad revenue and they were demonetized or limited ads. Now they're making no money because they're literally not getting views anymore.
The 3 top comments read, just remember the reason this video was filmed in his garden is because if it was filmed in his office, we'd all be able to see his thousands of dollars worth of arcade machines, magic cards, and gaming memorabilia. This is the most interesting case study, watching someone who hasn't worked in over a decade finally have to go back to work. Guys, this man is richer than most of us watching him even after this mistake he made. He squandered his money and wants an easy way out. Do not feed into it. The world is cruel, and if you want to put your faith into something, give your money to trusted places that will actually help individuals who need it. Don't give into pressure from financially irresponsible e-celebrities. It is clear there is little sympathy for the position Boogie put himself in. It is also important to mention in the past he revealed McJuggernuggets, the creator he had a falling out with in 2019, to be a motivator for investing in crypto, for its gains and its losses. But Boogie still bears the responsibility as he stated. The important bit was that Boogie also stated that his friend was to bail him out if things went poorly, but Boogie was not bailed out and made that video. On the same day, McJuggernuggets was going through his own controversy for what he deemed to be jokes against a former friend of his that recently came out as a woman. This evolved with other creators such as Kid Behind the Camera and Boogie coming out against McJuggernuggets. This was moved to Keemstar's live show where different perspectives are given, and turns into Keemstar arguing with McJuggernuggets about their failed platform and becomes an entirely new situation and a rabbit hole that strays far from everything else. The significant part of this, in terms of Boogie, is that McJuggernuggets, in this livestream, admits he lost his wealth to crypto.
I wet my ass with 100K. We're talking about a real check.
Good for you.
A real... You do too. You're rich too. What the fuck are you talking about?
I lost all my money in crypto.
It can be concluded from that he would not be able to pay up Boogie's own losses. There was quite a bit of drama surrounding Boogie around this time that kept getting revived. Like a Wall Street Bet post, a subreddit that mostly shows the losses in investments was now highlighting Boogie's own losses. November was not much better, with Boogie tweeting more and being self-depreciating, which has always been a key factor in his downfall, and he knows this. And like other things, he does them anyway, which makes people even more displeased with him, as shown in this video where he talks about his monthly spendings.
Hey, quick warning before I start this video. Yes, I know this is an overshare. Yes, I know it's going to make people mad again. Yes, I know it's going to cause the news cycle to happen over again. But hey, I could use the rage clicks, I could use the views, and the people that love me probably care about this. So I'm putting it out into the world, and feel free to be as mad as you want about it. And then $1,500 is my employee. And I know it's going to be the one that everybody harps on, but this person does way more than $1,500 worth of work, whether it's mowing the lawn, painting the walls, cleaning the house, doing shit that I physically cannot do because my back is broken. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do without him. I guess I'll have to hire lawn maintenance and maid service. All that's more expensive than what he's currently getting paid, man. So I don't know what I'm going to do without him, but that's probably the first expense that has to get cut. That means in order to maintain this current lifestyle, I need to make about $75,000 a year.
His monthly spendings were not looked upon warmly. One of the comments on this video reads, "$75K in expenses per year is outrageous. Most people don't even make that much as their salary." 2 days later, on November 3rd, he announces he is making an OnlyFans as both a joke and to get people angry at him.
I know it's going to piss a lot of people off, and that's one of the reasons I want to do it, but I also think it's going to entertain a lot of people.
The video in which he announced this was titled 380 pounds, a weight loss of 6 from his last update. There is another issue with the weight updates that goes beyond publicizing the gains and losses, because when he goes long periods of not announcing his weight, people will assume he gained too much to reveal how much he weighs. As for the OnlyFans, Boogie did make it and advertised it through Twitter and YouTube, while also joking about collaborating with other OnlyFans creators. As Boogie predicted, it did not come off well. As expected, it worked even worse in Boogie's favor. It only gets worse. On the 15th, he announced he has a rare form of cancer.
Turns out I got a rare blood cancer called polycythemia vera, which basically makes your body produce too many red blood cells. And when I started taking that testosterone supplement 7 or 8 years ago, however long it's been, we knew that this was a possibility. But the good news is, I mean, this is a disease that takes a really long time to get you.
There were many emotions about Boogie, none happy for him. There was sympathy purely for the position he was in, and also displeasure for the position he put himself in. Some comments were even questioning if Boogie had cancer. Through and through, a big part of the sympathy was knowing Boogie as self-sabotaging. It was that it's difficult to be entirely angry at someone that doesn't truly grasp how much they are damaging themselves, a feeling that comes from viewing a person devoid of self-respect. On the 24th of November, he responds to a comment notifying him of a new SunnyV2 video on him, in where he says, "I don't watch his trash, especially on a holiday, but it's probably classic SunnyV2 shit. He does what he does, so let them do it." But Boogie made an exception for this video because he reacted to it 4 days later on his channel. This marks the end of the late 2022 Boogie drama cycle. He has calmed down and entered stasis. What emerged in 2023 was mixed. His 5 years worth of videos, as he claims, were now all demonetized because of new YouTube guidelines. With even less money coming in, he was saying he may have to start e-begging.
I'm going to be at the doctor's office more than I'm going to be online. And I'll be honest with you, I know people are going to say this is me e-begging shit,
It's not. But I worry about how much fucking copay and shit there is in this stuff. I don't know yet because I haven't done the appointments. But if it like taps me out, I'm really going to have to e-bag. I probably will really have to come in here every night and be like, fuck, dude, I really need the fucking money to pay my fucking medical bills. You know what I'm saying?
This taking place in February also had another notable thing happen. There was a documentary being made on him and his failings, created by someone that goes by Mike Klum. Mike Klum doesn't have much media presence, but the important bit was that this documentary was meant to have a hopeful outlook, at least before Klum met Boogie in person and had this to say.
You genuinely believe that I could make a comeback?
I did when I showed up, but I'm slowly realizing that you're absolutely fucked.
Okay, all right, so...
Unfortunately.
Okay, all right, if you were, obviously, brilliant businessman. Okay?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
obviously,
brilliant.
very sexy.
Okay.
So sexy.
Okay.
While Klum's documentary has not released, Boogie did make his own video on his downfall that mimics those about him. Outwardly, these negative happenings in 2023 were already expected of Boogie, yet he was saying he was doing better than ever because of the mushrooms he's been taking to help change his perspective. He even made this Twitter video.
I woke up today just feeling good, just kind of glad to be in the world and just kind of happy. And it made me reflect on something. Have you ever heard the phrase, you don't know what you're missing? Right? I didn't know what I was missing this whole time. I didn't know that you could just wake up and enjoy being alive and enjoy the day without having to put a little bit of work into it.
But this must be a farce, right? Boogie has set himself a cycle of anger, lashing out, apologizing, then repeating. However, this time he acknowledges the cycle and is trying to break it. Even when explaining his shortcomings, he wasn't expressing them as pure failures, but making light of them. In March, Boogie mentions how much he spent being a sugar daddy.
How about the 100K in sugaring? Yeah, like I said, that was a bit much. And the 100K in sugaring was going to Los Angeles, going to Disneyland. That was including all of my trips. There's no woman out there that got $100,000 from me, but I paid for hotel rooms, I paid for Disneyland, I paid for fucking New York, I paid for all of these cool trips for me as well as them.
Boogie kept on stating how sorry he was for being such a fool in the past and that he was actually changing. Though it's been at least 4 months since a major breakdown, viewers are again granted with a choice to either believe Boogie is a man of his word, only to be made a fool when he fails because he is a locale and failing is what they do, or, what has proven to be the safer bet, viewers can disregard Boogie's words and anticipate his failures and be correct that Boogie will not change as he's proven in the past. But never has a belief in Boogie, at least as of recently, mattered until now, because as it was coming out, Boogie was going to box Wings of Redemption. 2 of the largest locales were now rumored to fight. It was almost too good to be true. 2 of the internet's laughingstocks that are known for their lack of commitment were now going to train, meet in a ring, and fight. Certainly not, which is how the internet was responding.
He wants to fight Wings of Redemption.
Yes.
In a pie eating contest?
Not boxing match.
That's after.
Oh,
that'd be before. Load up.
Those 2 are going to box? What?
Yeah.
What
All right,
quack is going to clear that?
I'm pretty opinionated on it. I think it's really stupid and irresponsible that people would even ask for that.
There is a non-0% chance that one of them will die.
Whether or not the fight was happening was the biggest conversation surrounding it, even more than who would win. But Boogie, now in April, was surprisingly still dedicated. He was saying the right things, like how Twitter was poorly affecting his image and why he wants to get off it.
Fuck Twitter. That place is a cesspool. That deters its own dedicated video as well, but I'm so done with that place. I mean, I'll probably tweet a couple times a day for the rest of my life, say hello and post videos and live streams and stuff, but I think I'm done using it as like a social thing where I try to get validation because it is the opposite of validating.
Boogie was now saying he'd rather be genuine than fall to any criticism like he's known for doing in the past. But these words are only that. What matters are only his actions, and to even imagine the fight would happen, both Boogie and Wings would need to sign a contract binding them to the fight.
You know, that always goes back full circle to where I started when we first heard about this, saying that, like, this isn't going to happen. But I've been assured by people behind the scenes, like, as recently as a week or 2 ago, that, like, it's 100% happening. And I believed them, and now like I see those DMs, and it's like maybe it's not even happening.
If he hasn't signed it, it's not going to happen. I wouldn't guess, right?
And then Keemstar released a video.
There it is!
Boogie, classically on Twitter, was also later in the video signing the contract. The fight was going to happen. And something else also amazing happened. Sure, both fighters were getting support for showing commitment, but even greater, Wings of Redemption trolls were supporting Boogie, and Boogie trolls were going and supporting Wings. The like-to-dislike ratios on Boogie's videos made in promotion of the fight were higher than nearly any video he had released in the last 3 years. He was working out every day. He was getting a paycheck to fight and getting support from creators that previously only voiced their disappointments. As every day inched towards the May 13th fight, every day not walking out of this fight was a victory for both creators. On May 12th were the weigh-ins. Boogie weighed at 391.6 pounds and Wings was 404.3 pounds. It is also important to note that Wings is 10 years younger than Boogie, and commenters also point out that he is more flexible, faster, and a beast of a man. And then came the day of the match.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the Happy Punch main event of Boogie 2988 Wings of Redemption.
Even though this was just an undercard fight, it was all the commentary community was interested in. It was completely surreal to see these fighters come out, enter the ring, and touch gloves. The bell ringing was a wake-up call into the strange new reality everyone was witnessing.
Locked in over there. He's ready to go.
The first round, Wings came out aggressive. Boogie could only be defensive. Punch after punch, Wings never gave Boogie any breathing room. By the first 30 seconds of round 1 in this 3-round match, the winner was already clear. By round 2, at 33 seconds, it was called. Boogie had only landed a single punch to the 25 Wings landed.
Referee Sheamus Dunn stops the contest, and therefore your winner, Wings of Redemption.
Wings of Redemption had won. As it is in boxing or any other competitive event, the victor gets the spoils and celebration, but the loser is also celebrated for their commitment in doing something extremely difficult by all aspects, especially in Boogie's case where his weight was only one of the more prominent setbacks. Even with support, a loss is a loss. Just 3 days after this fight, Boogie announced that the gym he went to was closing down. That means he also lost the sense of community he had going to it, where he was almost always recognized.
And I don't know, it's because I'm internet famous. I don't know what it is, but again, I want to say that everyone at this gym has been so nice. Whether they work here, whether they're other customers, everybody stops and says hello and is super polite. And just, I love it. I love it.
By the end of May, he was stating that he was already down to his last $17,000 in savings. And with Boogie's lifestyle, it would be a surprise if that lasted more than 3 months. Turkey Tom also made a video covering Boogie, which he reacted negatively to, calling Tom a muckraker and deeming it full of misinformation.
The usual suspects and the muckdreckers of YouTube are going to do what they do. And today it's Turkey Tom's time. He made a video that'll certainly get 2 or 3 million views. There's a lot of misinformation and rumors that's in this video that has been spread about me that he continues to spread here.
But when confronted, he couldn't cite a single incorrect bit of information because he only skimmed through it. We know this because Boogie invited Tom onto his podcast and said the exact same thing.
Well, there's definitely some things that you were wrong about in that video, and I can point out a few.
Okay, what was I wrong
but
about?
I'd rather just start at the beginning.
What was I wrong about? I'd like to start there.
Well, so you heavily implied that you did not state that some of the abuse allegations I've made, or all of the abuse allegations that I've made, are falsified. And that's probably the biggest sticking point that I find it very painful to watch these types of videos for me, especially once misinformation is put out there. And so when I see misinformation, I click it off immediately. And that's where I got to with your video. And I mostly skimmed it up to there.
There was no misinformation in the video. And if there was, you would have an easy slam dunk of a video being like, Turkey Tom lied about me, because there's plenty of people that would love to see that.
To say an implication is misinformation in itself. This is even more damning because it is hypocritical of Boogie, as he's always complaining that others are spreading misinformation about him, yet he doesn't put in the work to back up his own claims. It is clear another Boogie cycle has started, possibly launched by the loss of his boxing match. On Twitter, he stated, "I think anyone with a brain canal understand that I have not, nor never will be abusive to women. If this is the case, then why state something that is already understood? Does Boogie know this and is only trying to stir up controversy disregarding all his promises not to?" This takes us to his most recent controversy, a culmination of all of his Boogieisms bringing attention to him. To start, he stated before that he wouldn't bring another partner to the public because it is malicious. He also stated when criticizing Keemstar's girlfriend he wouldn't date another 20-year-old again, going as far to say, "Personally, I hope this is where Keem learned the lesson I did. While it is legal to date women that age, it isn't a great use of your time, and has a chance to be miserable for both of you in the end. Do not recommend." He also said he would get off of Twitter and stop using it as validation. Boogie also noticed that even hinting at a partner, even just having them somehow in his videos, may lead to their reveal. And yet now Boogie, at the start of the cycle, was teasing about revealing his girlfriend. Jokes were being made about her being 20 years old, and Boogie was doing what he did best and responding to all the comments criticizing him, also stating that they met when she wrote me to talk about some trauma she had gone through. We bonded as we helped heal ourselves. Eventually realized how compatible we are, and after about a year, we realized we shouldn't deny that. So she and I moved in last month, and here we are. As much as Boogie tries to spin this, Brantley, Keemstar's girlfriend that Boogie criticized for being too young, quote-tweeted Boogie with, "You told us she was an 18-year-old virgin. Me, Keem, and kid behind the camera." And from this point on, Boogie has done almost nothing but post about all the fatty foods he is eating. He was almost feeding the trolls as much as he was feeding himself. He was framing this as people being mad he was dating someone so much younger. He says he only has $17,000 in his savings, but chooses to further antagonize his shrinking audience that has diminished to the lowest it has been since he started making YouTube videos. Yet he still comes back for sympathy. After making videos gorging himself, he will tweet he is sick of being so fat. He sometimes pretends he is in control and that he is creating inflammatory content for attention, but it is clear there are no benefits monetarily to this, at least not for him. To expand on this new saga, it feels that Boogie was being inflammatory more and more. Not in a way that stirs up interest and conversation, but in a way that brings in annoyance. Not only was he consuming fast foods in his exaggerated videos, he was also consuming costlier items like steak, traveling, supporting his new girlfriend, all despite saying how little of his fortune he had left. Even the intention in these videos to be more skit-based is lost. Like when Boogie's content creator friend, kid behind the camera, takes the couple to a high-end steakhouse only to be the perfect example of an obnoxious YouTuber.
Oh my god, the weight capacity is only 2,100 pounds, mate. Between me and you, we exceed that, I think.
If he has to stab you in the shoulder with this, whatever keeps him happy.
Comments in this specific video read, "Imagine going to a high-end dining establishment to have a modest dinner, and then Walmart rolls in. Imagine going to such a nice restaurant and kids screaming, and their parents just sit there and keep stuff in their faces and do nothing about it. Money can't buy class, folks." Boogie's videos expanding on his relationship did little to appease anyone.
So, that said, I feel like I'm in the best place in my life. And I know the path that she needs to go down to get over, like, all of the things that she's been through. So I feel like I can help her with that.
In almost every single one of these are comments that jest at the age gap, celebrating Boogie hanging out with his daughter or granddaughter. Boogie likes to say that they care for each other and that he can teach her things. Viewers' worry comes in with Boogie's inability as a human and how that would translate to his ability as a partner. Boogie is a person that doesn't do his own chores. A person that, given ample opportunity to improve, can only seek excuses to fail. Boogie says he is truthful, he says he is honest and means well, but also says he will improve but never does. If looking at his history of claims, Boogie is a morbidly obese creator that suffers from social anxiety, diabetes, bipolar disorder, childhood onset PTSD, autism, depression, disassociation, food addiction, Twitter addiction, and skin cancer on top of his blood-related cancer. He has got to say he doesn't have the majority of these, but what matters is Boogie is untrustworthy. It is difficult to know when he is genuine. He is also extremely grating with his endless complaining. All terrible traits for a storyteller, but interesting things to tell in a story. Both not helpful for his declining channel or health. And like most things with Boogie, none of it feels right. Do you support a man that is torturing himself, knowing full well when he fails again he betrays your trust and that he will improve? Or do you combat this frustration by disregarding this self-torture entirely and accept the laughingstock that Boogie desperately wants to be, to discourage others of his behavior? But it's deeper than that. Boogie claims to want to be held responsible, and that's how fans shift to detractors with his constant failings. When criticized, he will respond aggressively to fans trying to hold him accountable, and in his videos, he will thank that audience that sticks with him no matter what. These two contradicting stances on fans wanting to hold him accountable but also eternally support him expose a possible truth in that he never means to change. He wants to gorge and also wants support for it, a typical thing among addicts in that they will make any excuse, make hollow promises to keep destroying themselves. It is anyone's guess how far Boogie will continue to take this, as a desperation from the loss of his remaining savings will force a change, for better or for worse.
So whether, I don't know how any of this turns out, man. And you know, now I'm working for two. Now I'm living for two. I gotta get the weight off. You know? I gotta get this career back on track. I gotta bring in money. I gotta figure some shit out, man. And you know, I'd love to call my dad or my mom or someone who knows what they're doing in my life, but hell, they're dead. And if they were alive, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing either. Does anybody really know? Does anybody really know, or do we all just do our best and hope we get it right?